Welcome, Chris. Let's do this. So, top 3 games coming to crowdfunding this week. 2 of the 3, very, very easy picks. You're going to know why when I put them out there. But the third one was a little bit of a toss-up, so we'll see where that one goes. But I knocked it out of the park with predicting an Age Contrived as well. Was that my third pick, 2 weeks ago now? So, a week ago? I can't even remember now. It all blurs together. But a couple big ones coming the following 2 weeks as well. I mean, we're talking just an onslaught here. This is just the calm before the storm. And then the storm is going to hit on the 21st and the 28th. And I'll tell you right now, if your budget is not aware, you better be, because the next 2.5 weeks are going to be pretty intense in terms of testing your willpower not to go in for a triple-digit pledge at some point. I'll tell you right now. Patreon folks, if you're interested, they got to pick out over the weekend, this weekend, which review they want to see me come up next. I'm going to give about 6 choices or so and let them choose, and I'm going to put it out there because I'm behind on reviews, and I'm going to start being selective, and reviews are going to be coming on the channel hot and heavy in the near future. That's all I got. Preamble over. Let's do this. So, what's number 1? Number freaking 1, Townsfolk Tussle, the expansions. There's a couple of reviews or videos or previews, impressions out there already. If you're not familiar with Townsfolk Tussle, it is your quintessential boss battler where you are taking a series of 4 boss battles, managing, upgrading your characters in sort of the old-timey cartoon style aesthetic, and just trying to be able to complete all 4 of them without losing. The 2 expansions are Foul Neighbors and Odd Jobs, and this plays a very interesting player count of not only 2, but up to 5. Odd Jobs is just like it says, the peddler who is peddling the wares that you're buying and upgrading and using to defeat your enemies. They've had some run into some trouble. And so what you're going to be doing is helping them do some odd jobs. I'm assuming like some sort of like mini quest or mini side game, but you're also basically expanding the contents of what the peddler has. And so that's really always something fun, is you can get more equipment, more combinations of equipment, or more sort of whatever in there to mix it up and spice it up even more. I mean, that is my number 1 request often in these style of games. So the fact that one of these dedicated 2 expansions is going for that, really, great, fantastic. The other expansion is actually a combination of their 2 previously planned expansions, where it's basically giving you more ruffians and bad guys, as well as a few new townsfolk. And again, I mean, like, that's what you need to see with this game, offering variety, shuffling it up, and sort of mixing it up as well, giving a little bit more asymmetry and a little bit more options, so it doesn't become so samey, because I'm guaranteeing if you're playing this game, you're probably playing it a bunch. And so that, is just what people want, right? Like, they don't want make it more complicated or more convoluted. They want more of the stuff that entices them and brings them to the table and brings them enjoyment in the first place. And I have to say, just based on the descriptions alone, both of those I would expect to do that. And this is going to be a reprint of a game that they said, okay, we're not going to retail with. So if you weren't wanting to pay scalpers prices on the secondary market, well, now's your chance to get in. I'm assuming getting it delivered sometime in the middle of 2024. So that is number 1. Number 2 here from Flatout Games, we are getting a combo game campaign here. And this is going to be a combination of Deep Dive and Point City. Does Point City sound like Point Salad? Yes, because it's going with a similar theme. Point City actually looks like a freaking fantastic game for me. Light filler, both of these in many ways. Point City going to be more of a card city building open draft set collection style of game, where you are taking 2 cards that are basically in your tableau of market options, putting them into your own city, activating them, constructing them, and getting the resources and benefits that they offer on an ongoing basis. Then Deep Dive is going to be a literal, just like press your luck, flip over a card and see what you get, as you want to try and set collect and push your luck to get the most banquet of bountiful food that you can as a penguin deep diving the ocean and bringing it back up for your family. So yeah, I mean, very simple, very straightforward, but sometimes that's what's best too. And the price point is going to be relatively affordable. They've already announced that I think it's something like 20 or 25 bucks for both games together. So Point City, it's just, again, it's going to be sort of a question of Sentinels of the Multiverse, the Desperation expansion over on Backrocket that I talked about yesterday, whether or not the price point is going to be enticing enough for you to get both of them. Because I think they did this with the previous set last year, or was this AEG? I can't remember which one of the 2 of these was. It was Witchcraft and 10. Very similar bundling going on here from that side of things. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of people pick it up from that aspect, because this is also a collaboration between AEG and Flatout. I think, similarly to that one. So the question just is, sort of like that one, sort of like all play board game tables. Do you really want both of them? Are both of them really going to appeal to you? There's been enough video and enough, sort of rumblings about both of them that there's enough information that easily, I think probably even now at the time of me filming this, if you go over to Board Game Geek with the links down below of the Board Game Geek pages, you can get enough information that way to see whether or not you're going to be enticed by them, or just if this isn't your thing altogether, like my description said, a lighter weight filler style games, this may not entice you, but this is the sort of thing that my kids can start to play. And I like the idea of Point City because it says 150 unique buildings, 150 unique. Like if there's really that many unique stuff and they're all like, significantly different, just like a game I just played, Wizards of the Grimoire, from Grimoire Games. That's a hard word to say for me like 3 times in a row. Grimoire. Having that much unique variety of asymmetry is really cool, and I like it, and it works well. And then you play a different game every single time, and you don't need a huge amount of like a stack of deck. So I like the idea of that one, and that's why this campaign is number 2 this week. Third one here was a little bit of a tougher find, but it's going to be launching over on GameFound, I believe, on the 14th as well. And this is The Hunt. Hard one to look up sometimes on Board Game Geek. But this is from Salt and Pepper Games, and this is an asymmetric 2-player card-based situation where you are either the German fleet or the British fleet in World War II. You are one side or the other trying to achieve your asymmetric objective. The German side of things, staying hidden while sinking 5 British cargo ships. The British side of things, hunting down the final naval ship that they need to find and putting them out of commission. And in case that happens, the one with the least amount of damage wins at the end in sort of this final battle skirmish style of things. And so as a campaign card-driven hidden movement multi-use card situation, and this is also from the same company that has put out other things that are very similar in Agropolis, Sprawlopolis, as well as the 2-player game Watergate. And so if that intrigues you at all, also Funchade Island, this is the sort of game that you should be looking at, as well as a sleeper hit potentially of the week, just depending on how much traction it can get over on GameFound, because some of these smaller ones we've seen in the past have sort of had a little bit of a rough footing in terms of getting that groundswell support that we've seen initially, that sometimes Kickstarter, just by bringing all the boys to the yard, gets a little bit more from that side of things. So I'm interested to see where it kind of goes from that aspect of things, and just kind of seeing where it kind of ends up. It has a good pedigree. It sounds like a really good concept, but we'll kind of see just where it ends up, 6 days from now when I do it on the roundup. So there you go. That are your top 3. And I wasn't kidding, just as a little spoilers here for the next 2 weeks, right? I'm looking at my list right now, and apart from the ones I mentioned, both of which I expect to, Townsfolk Tussle easily going to hit 6 figures. I could see, Flatout Games AEG co-op go either way. I think it's going to be near 100,000, but I could see it easily being like 50 to 80 or even like 2 to 3. And I just don't know in terms of that. But afterwards, the next 2 weeks after this, we have Galactic Renaissance. Then we also have the Let's Go to Japan from AEG, which is probably one of the biggest ones for me to potentially eye backing. We have just the recently announced Unmatched Adventures coming on the 23rd. Then we have Flow from the same people behind Unconscious Mind, and the other Endless Winter sitting up above me. Then we also have Elder Scrolls, which was announced just now, yesterday on the 28th. And then in addition, I expect around that same time to have Zombicide: The White Death. So if that's not a, big name collection right there, and that's all the stuff that we know, I'm guessing there's going to be 1 or 2 in there as well that are going to sort of catch us off guard in addition to that. But those are the big ones. So if that doesn't excite you, I'll be breaking those down as we get closer next week to give you some of my more immediate thoughts as well. So, okay, a couple quick hits here at the end. A little bit of crowdfunding roundup. Where are things at now? From the ones I've talked about previously in the past couple of weeks, Scholars of the South Tigris, it's ending in about a couple days. And again, it's not doing any promos. You're getting the promos, you're getting the metal coins, or you're not. You're picking up at retail for slightly less. Push either way from Garfield Games. Interested, it's on my trade list, it's on my retail list. It's probably not going to be on the I'm backing on crowdfunding, but similarly, all the other projects, it's doing really well, getting a couple $100,000, nothing to sneeze at whatsoever. Now, an Age Contrived here, heavy Euro game, actually outraising Scholars of the South Tigris, which is pretty amazing in and of itself. You scroll all the way down to the bottom here. Sorry for the big long scroll here, folks, but as you get past the add-ons, you got to see some of the stretch goals. Where are things at now that they've got less time left? It's mostly deluxeifications, a little bit of gameplay content in terms of the solo developments, advancement tokens, and a little bit upgraded rulebook with more variants that are going to be officially added. And that's going to be about it. Enough to necessarily entice a little more, but not necessarily enough to make you feel like you're missing out. So people are really impressed by what they're seeing so far, and we'll see, because there was enough information there in terms of videos and rulebook from the get-go. So check that one out if you will. Again, Red Dragon Inn, another one that's hit a bunch of funding goals already. It's already almost $300,000, and that's about all they've done up through this. And you're getting just a little bit of content, and these appear to be somewhat more exclusive, but they don't actually say completely exclusive here. You're getting them at these pledge levels as additional add-ons. And so I know that there are some completionists out there for Red Dragon Inn. Every once in a while I see someone pop up and say, I really want this, or I really want this. And so I think there is some exclusivity from that aspect. So take that for what you will. But if we scroll all the way back up again, you can see it's got, oh, sorry, I'm over 300,000, my bad. But it's going to be done by the time this roundup goes up next week. So if you have any interest in that one, again, check it out. Lords of Vegas, again, $200,000 going to be done by next week at this time. But it doesn't have any stretch goals. It's just, are you going to get Lords of Vegas? Are you going to get one of the reprints? Are you going to go out there and venture into this relatively well thought of, I don't want to say classic, because, classic, I think, refers to like 20 or 30 years ago, but more recent classic in the lines of something like Hansa Teutonica, if you will. So it's going to be there. It's going to be just not widely available at retail. So do you get it now, or do you risk trying to get it in the secondary market? So take that for what you will. Reviving Kathmandu, again, $61,000. Very nice looking sort of auction-ish game with a tableau that you're building through the use of grabbing cards from the center. And it's hitting a few stretch goals, which again are mostly deluxeifications at this point when you actually scroll down here. Again, finished cards, finished rule box art, UV finish, thicker playmat. Again, no real content except for the solo mode right here. So again, I don't know if this one's going to be widely available at retail. It's not a bad price point for a deluxe version of it. If you get the expansion too, it's only $42. So price point's not bad. It's a light game. Are you looking for that? I think it looks like a really fun game. I don't know if I'm going to get it on crowdfunding, but this is one that I would be heavily interested, again, picking up on the trade side of things. We're going to go back to Candles of Candelabria from Lunar Oak Studios. This one is going very, 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 very similar to Sheol, their previous campaign, where it's going to come right down to the wire on whether or not it funds. I mean, they're sitting at about, $18,000 or so under their funding goal with 4 days left at the time of me filming this. So you're going to require another 100, 150 backers probably to get there at this point. And it's not an inexpensive project. It's not an inexpensive pledge level in terms of $100, $150 or even like $250 to get everything. Sheol has just not been widely available enough to know how good it actually is. And I feel like this is going to be the same. This is going to be a very niche product. And again, it's not coming to retail. So if they fund, great. This is the second time around. So they've added a whole bunch of stuff in. If you go over to the updates here, they've given away some pledge levels. They've added some 3D files as well to be unlocked. And then they actually threw in some other stuff here, including a solo mode, early goals. And this is what they did with Sheol as it was slowing down. They unlocked a bunch of this stuff to entice people before the campaign actually funded. So here you can see a little bit of what they had in store, a little bit of upgrades and a little bit of deluxeifications. So there you go. Now let's go over one last one over on GameFound here. GameFound, $90,000 for Street Fighters. I haven't talked about this one recently, but they've thrown in a bunch of content. This campaign has gone a lot longer than I expected that it was going to, or I thought it was going to go in the first place. You have a base game, and then you have multiple expansions here that you're going to be looking at getting, and that includes stretch goals. It includes the Four Kings, the Dan fighter pack, if you're familiar with Dan, and the Darkness Within expansion pack as well. Four Kings here being your classic M. Bison, Vega, and that sort of ilk, and then your Darkness Within being like more of your Akuma and those more, like it says, darker type heroes with a little bit more of that element. And they've hit a bunch of stretch goals here that they've unlocked, a bunch of extra characters, Nemesis, fighters that you're going to be dealing with. So why back? I mean, you're going to get some exclusive content. So if you're a Street Fighter junkie, is this one going to be different than the other Street Fighter games that are out there? Absolutely. The miniatures game is a skirmish game. This is more of a cooperative crawl style scenario-based game. And so it's definitely different. I just don't know if the nostalgia for Street Fighter is as high as other games. And apparently, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. It's an interesting test of the market from Colossal. And I think they actually just had a latest update talking about their affiliation or what the deal was with Blacklist. So it was good to put some disclaimer out there as well. That's it. Short and sweet this week. I like doing these top 3. It gives me a little bit of a break as well. So if you want to tune in, Patreon, that poll will be live. So go check it out. If you want to get in on that, let me know as well. So as always, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day. I need to go play some games. Galactic Renaissance. Intrigued? You should be. Let's do this. See you around. Push your luck to get the most banquet